Good morning, 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 everybody. I hope everybody's day is off to a great start. And I'm thankful to be in the land of the living this morning. I'm thankful to be amongst the living this morning. I'm thankful that God woke me up this morning and gave me another chance. So for those of y'all who don't know who I am GraceAmber. I come on different platforms. Whenever God gives me a word to share, I come on and I share it with you. Really quick this morning, happy Wednesday. I want to talk to you from the topic of human nature. Human nature. Let's jump into this thing. So, y'all have probably already heard me talk about, and other people too, talk about how we look for love in all the wrong places. I've previously talked about how a lot of times we are craving and desiring a type of love. And so what we do is we go and try to find it from people, places, and things, right? And the problem is that we get disappointed. Why? Because we're craving the love of God. We're craving only the type of love that He can feel and that He can give, right? We have the void for His love, the love that only He can give, the void that only He can fill. Problem is that we avoid going to Him to get this love. Instead, what we do is we go to other people, which leaves us disappointed, right? And so I've talked about how we will look for love in all the wrong places. But today I also want to talk about how we look for the character of God in all the wrong places. What am I talking about today? So we love loyalty. Who doesn't? We want loyal people in our lives. We expect loyalty from people. You've heard the cliche in the world where they say, stop expecting you from other people. We love to expect loyalty from people. We want that type of character in the people that we deal with. We don't want to deal with shady people. We are looking for the character of God. But the problem is that yet again, we are not going to God to get that kind of interaction from somebody who has that character. Instead, we're going to people and interacting with them, expecting the character of God, which ultimately leads to disappointment. I'm going to give that to you again. We expect and we desire a certain level and standard of character from people who we deal with. The problem is that just like how we look for love, the love of God, how we look for the love of God from people, and when we do that, we end up disappointed every time. Why? Because we are looking for a type of love that only God can give. In the same way, we are expecting a certain standard of character in the people that we deal with, right? We have our own ways that we vet people out. We have our own ways that we look for people, and we try to examine them and determine what their character is like based upon our own understanding. But the problem is that we are expecting a certain standard of character from people that we deal with, but that certain standard of character is almost impossible from a human. And so the character that we are seeking in the people that we deal with is the type of character that only God has, right? And so because God is the only entity that we can deal with on that level, God is the only person that we can depend on to have that standard of character, what we will do is we will look for it in people, places, and things, and then we get disappointed. Why? Because that standard of character only comes from God. Turn with me in your Bibles to Numbers, the 23rd chapter. Go down to the 19th verse. This is the NIV now. And it reads, God is not human that He should lie, not a human being that He should change His mind. Does He speak and then not act? Does He promise and not fulfill? I'm going to give that to you again. God is not a human that He should lie. And the more popular translation says, God is not a man that He should lie. God is not not human that He should lie, not a human being that He should change His mind. Does He speak and then not act? Does He promise and not fulfill? See, what happens is we get in these relationships with people, whether it be intimate, romantic, friendship, businessship, whatever it is, we interact with people. And even though we have become familiar with them, we expect a certain standard of character from them. See, what we expect is for them to tell us the truth, right? But human nature is, if you're a human, guess what? You can also be a liar under the correct circumstances, right? Think about it. When you're dealing with someone, right? let's say that your character is solid. Let's say that you are somebody who tries to walk with integrity and you try to be truthful, right? Let's say that you consider yourself to be rock solid, a solid person in which you are not a liar, right? But if a certain person comes up to you, right, and you've already discerned and peeped how they are, you've already seen that they're a liar, you've already seen that they have a big mouth, so whatever you tell them, they're going to run back and tell. Well, guess what? Under those circumstances, normally you are a solid person. You are not a liar, but if a certain person comes to you, most likely you would not tell them the truth. Why? Because we are human. We can change. And so what we are looking for in these relationships with people, we are expecting honesty. We are expecting them to tell the truth at all costs, all the time, and you're not going to get it from any human because that is just human nature. If they are human, they can lie. That's mama, daddy, daughter, son, auntie, uncle, boss, preacher, pastor, apostle, prophet, everybody. If we are human, guess what? We can lie under the correct circumstances. Let's keep going. God is not a human being that he should change his mind. We see this all the time when we're dealing with people. When they take vows and we take oaths with these people, sometimes marriage vows, we're expecting this thing to last from the beginning to the end. But here's the problem. The problem is that you're dealing with a human. And as Bishop Dale Bronner would say, humans are fickle. And so what happens is when we get in our feelings, guess what? I might have promised this to you yesterday. I might have promised this to you last year. But guess what? Things change. And so because we are human, guess what? Because things change, guess what? We can change too. Why? Because we are human. And this is what we call it. We call it, we get in our feelings, is how we say it. We get in our feelings. But really, I'm going to break it down to you what in our feelings means in biblical terms. That means you are in your flesh. And we look at flesh and we think just flesh like our skin. Well, that's flesh in the physical form, but there is also flesh internally. And so you will see these things and we call it we get it our feelings. And so when we get in our feelings, now we might have made a vow to you 3 years ago. You might have made a vow to that woman or that man that you were going to love them forever, for better or for worse. But guess what happened? You caught that man in there with your best friend. You caught that woman at your best friend's. You caught your wife at your best friend's house last night at 11 o'clock. Now, let me tell you something. You put forth a vow, but we are humans and we get in our feelings. And because we get in our feelings, guess what? We can change. So you vowed 3 years ago that you were going to love that person for better or for worse. But when you walk in and you catch that person with your best friend, now we get in our feelings. Now we become fickle. And because we are human, guess what? We can change. Let's keep going in this thing. Does God speak and then not act? And so when people tell us that they're going to do something, right? When people come to us and the people that we interact with, they come to us and they tell us that they're going to do something. Hey, when Friday come, I get that income tax refund. When Friday come, I'm going to give you all that money that I owe you, okay? Friday, it should hit. Hey, it's going to hit the bank. No later than 12 o'clock. Now, it's going to hit the bank, and Friday, my right hand, Friday, I'm coming to you, and I'm going to give you this money, right? That I owe you, and I've been owing you for the last 30 years, right? And then when Friday comes, it's 1 o'clock, no call. 5 o'clock, no call. Midnight, no call. Guess what? You're not going to get the call. Why? Because you're dealing with a human, and what humans do is they can tell you things and then not do it. That is human nature. What am I trying to get to today? I'm trying to get you to see, and myself too, because these are all lessons that I eat from the same, everything I'm giving you, I'm eating the same thing too. So these lessons are for me too. I'm trying to help us to see that no matter what human you're dealing with, they are capable of lying. They're capable of changing their mind. They're capable of speaking and then not acting. And they're also capable of promising and not fulfilling. Why? Because it's human nature. And so why do we get disappointed in our relationships with people? Why do we get disappointed in our dealings with people? Why do we get disappointed in our business partnerships with people? Why do we get disappointed in these relationships? It's because we don't understand human nature. nature. And for those of us who do understand human nature, we for some reason expect the standard and the character of God from humans. And when we do that, what we're actually doing is making an idol out of a human. When you have a human in your life, and I've been guilty of this, when you have a human in your life that you put so much faith and confidence in, that they will not lie to you, that they will not change, that their word is their bond all the time, that everything that they say that they're going to do it. What you are doing is making an idol out of that person. And what God allows to happen is that when we make idols out of people, places, or things, he allows us to learn the hard way, because remember, we are serving a jealous God, right? And so when we make idols out of our spouses, well, God has told us to love them, and we've made vows in front of him, covenants, all of the above, right? But guess what? Your spouse is not above your God, right? And so because your spouse is human, we should not go into these arrangements, agreements, marriages, all these things, partnerships. We shouldn't go into these things expecting the character of God from a human, because no matter how great of a human it is, there are some things that humans cannot get away from, and those things are human nature. That is the nature of humans. Stop expecting God from people. You're not going to get it. When you're dealing with people, understand that they can lie. They can change. They're capable of doing these things. And so when you understand these things and you go into relationships, agreements, partnerships with humans, you don't let your guard down to the point where you make an idol out of them, thinking that it's certain things that they never will do, because if they are human, under the right circumstances, they can and they will do it. I love you. I'm Grace Amber. Happy hump day, as we call it. Happy Wednesday. Have a wonderful day. I will be right back on tomorrow with another word.